Welcome to Apologetics and Prophecy, the official podcast of Calvary Solid Ground, a remnant church in Orangevale, California. I am Pastor Jed, and I will be your host as we bring you Bible studies and updates put through an apologetical and biblical lens to see just how close we are to the return of our Lord. Thank you for joining us today. Maranatha, everyone. So glad that you could join us for this Friday edition of Apologetics and Prophecy. And before we get into our update today, I just want to remind you that we did have a conference a few weeks ago, this free one-day conference we did with Ken Michael and Pastor Josh Schwartz, along with Don Perkins. And those individual messages are available on our app and website in their own folder in our prophecy subject list. So go ahead and use those, share them, watch them. It's also the full conference is available on YouTube and Facebook for now. You know, Facebook, you can't, they only keep stuff on there for 30 days now. So the app and the website is really the best place to go. So you should download the app, turn on the notifications. When all of my material is on there and all of our guest material is too. It's easy to navigate and it's available. You can put it on your smartphone, your laptop, wherever it is available at. And so, but getting into our update today is I have something that we want to talk about before we get into the stories, but I've noticed something that's unique, and I know it is a sign of the times that we're living in, and that is from within and without. And what do I mean by that? You can see by the slide there that complaints, we're starting to see lots of complaints from without. We expect that. But I'm seeing them from within, and it's you know, and I know it comes with the advent of, you know, DIY YouTube channels all over the place, and people setting up a website, setting up a something and calling it Last Days or End Times this, and attracting people through the news cycles and the clickbait that they have, and but one of the I knew it would come along. I mean, it just happens. Is that I'm seeing a lot of people either on social media or on their platforms, or from what I understand in the chat, even amongst the mods on some of these live channels, and that is complaints. People complaining and bickering about one another, and there's this one site that I found that I have their Telegram channel, and it's a good place to get news stories at because it's an aggregate. But the guy that runs it, man, every day, all he does is complain about this person said that, and this person says this, and these people are like this and like that. And, you know, I've been in ministry for a while, and the one thing I learned right away, jumping into ministry as a young man, well, not young, but you know what I mean, as a young in the Lord, that you need to have thick skin. If you can't have thick skin in ministry, then you are not going to make it, because people will stab you in the back. Sheep bite worse than the world does. And if you're not used to that, if you can't just learn to love people past all of their faults and complaints and mistakes, you're going to turn bitter. And you're going to start complaining. And so, and I see it all the time on social media. A lot of people in the prophecy world are more worried about what people are saying about them than the message that they're proclaiming. And we need to be careful, because the Bible's very clear what it talks about. Even in Jude warning about the false teachers, this is what Jude had to say. He said in Jude 1:16 through 19, "These are grumblers and complainers, walking according to their own lusts, and they mouth great swelling words, flattering people to gain advantage. But you, beloved, remember the words which were spoken before by the apostles of our Lord Jesus Christ, how they told you that there would be mockers in the last time who would walk according to their own godly lusts. These are sensual persons who what? Cause division, not having the Spirit." That's some pretty harsh stuff. And when I hear people complaining and making a big fuss about what people are saying about them on their chat in YouTube, it shows to me, if it isn't this, then it shows a lack of maturity and discernment. They are not fit, I believe, for ministry if they cannot handle the fact that not everybody is going to agree with them. Not everybody is going to, think that they're telling the truth, and that's just what comes with it. But in the midst of our own camp, whether you're pre-trib, post-trib, what a trib, whatever you are, the fact is that the world will come after us one day, and so complaining about each other is not doing us any good at all. Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 through 16 says, "Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless and harmless, children of God, without fault, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world." When we're complaining about one another, when we're more worried about what people are saying about us on YouTube or on Facebook or on X than we are about the message that we have to proclaim, the world is looking at us, and we're not looking any different than the world. And so the thing that we need to watch out for is complaining is contagious. The more people do it, the more that it starts to breed. And that's why when we have these, live YouTube chats and people start complaining and fighting amongst each other in the YouTube chat, there's no way to control that. And mods can only do so much. But once somebody starts complaining, you'll notice that others start doing it. And before you know it, you got 10, 15 people all talking about, oh yeah, because it breeds. And that's why the Bible tells us that we are to do all things without complaining. Colossians 3:12 through 13, "Therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another, and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another," hello, YouTube guys, YouTube channel guys, Telegram channel guys with your end time, last time, this, aggregate. If anyone has a complaint, even as Christ forgave you, well, guess what? So you also must do. Not might do, not only if you get around to it, maybe on the next post. No, you must do that. And so, like I said, when these people are saying the same thing over and over again, it's coming out of their mouth, I know where their heart is at. If I had a nickel for every time somebody either called me a false teacher or a deceiver or, angry or all of these titles that they put on me, man, I'd be a rich man. I wouldn't even, it's crazy, but you get the picture. And this is what happened to the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness. When they were in the wilderness, if you remember in the wilderness, it was the mixed multitude came in and were complaining about the manna. And what happened? It brought consequences to the children of Israel. And when people in the church are complaining about one another and more worried about what people are saying about them than the message that we have, that Jesus is coming soon and we need to be ready, it brings consequences to the camp. And it's a very sad state, I would say, to see the level of immaturity, the level of angst and angry, complaining spirit amongst the pre-trib, pre-mill camp, that it almost makes me want to just forget about it. It really does. But Paul would write to the Corinthian church, which was messed up and had all these same problems that we see that I'm talking about now. He said in 1 Corinthians 10:6 through 10, "Now these things became our examples to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, and do not become idolaters as some of them, as it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain as some of them also complained, and were destroyed by the destroyers." Man, lumping complainers, and with all of that, you better think I have a feeling people's image on YouTube is their idol that they're worshiping. Need to be careful, folks. This is a serious thing that I'm seeing happening amongst people online. And, it started with the election, and it's gone into Israel, and it's a mess, you guys. And there's an important message that we have. We're living in the last days. We need to warn people they need to come to Christ now before it's too late. They do not want to be left behind. And if we're worried about what our image looks like and what people are saying about us, the message gets messed up, it gets watered down, and people turn away and don't want to have anything to do with us because we look just as bad as the world when we're cat fighting, acting like a bunch of little kids in a sandbox who just had our toys taken away from us. And it's a serious thing. And it really, and I know I'm starting to sound like I'm complaining now. But, hey, but we got a lot of news, and I didn't get into a lot of things this week, but there are some important stories, and, we're going to tie in the within, without, what we just talked about with our last story, but we're going to go through some stories that have been happening since the last time we met last week. And one of the big stories that I haven't had time to research yet, and I didn't want to jump into it and just do a quick article search, but there is a new bill that is going through Congress right now, and it's supposed to be a big one, and it's called the Genius Act, and it is dealing with cryptocurrency, and it's not good, you guys. It is paving the way to, electronic one world money. And so I'm going to take some time to look into it. That way I have done my research, and I've been busy this week, haven't had a lot of time, but there are a few stories. What happened this week though, which is pretty amazing, is we have this, to explain away massive military losses, the Iranian regime accuses Israel manipulating occult forces. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up, you guys. It says they reported that Abdullah Ganji, former chief of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps affiliated Javan, wrote the following to his 150,000 followers on X on July 9th. After the recent war, several pieces of paper were found on the streets of Tehran containing talismans with Jewish symbols. A few years ago, the supreme leader said that hostile countries and Western and Hebrew intelligence services used occult sciences and jinn beings for espionage. And jinn is the Islamic term for demons and stuff like that. But pretty funny stuff here. And then there's this one that's been going on in Syria. Is this the beginning of the end for Damascus? And is Iran threatening to make a move that will ensure that it gets bombed again? And so Syria is a mess right now. If this article kind of explains to us what's been going on there. And it says, when I heard that the IDF had just bombed the Ministry of Defense and the presidential palaces in Damascus, I could hardly believe it. I thought that would have at least a short period of relative stability in the Middle East, but perhaps I was wrong. In my opinion, Israel and the new government in Syria are now essentially in a state of war, according to Israeli authorities. The IDF has already conducted 160 airstrikes within Syrian territory, and they are fully prepared to conduct even more. As of Wednesday afternoon, the IDF has taken 160 aerial attacks on Syrian regime forces around the vicinity of Swida in southern Syria, where Israel says the regime's forces are slaughtering Syrian Druze. In addition, the IDF has attacked and possibly destroyed Syria's defense ministry and also attacked part of the presidential palace in Damascus. Dozens or more Syrian regime forces are said to have been killed in IDF attacks. IDF sources say that the military is ready for a multi-day campaign to convince Syrian regime forces to withdraw from the Swida and leave the Syrian Druze their autonomy. And of course, Syria continues to be a mess. Of course, the United States tried to tell Israel what to do, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But here's a couple videos. The picture here, there's a news story here that shows that building, which is Amir Safari says it is equivalent to the Syrian Pentagon. So let's take a look.
غارة جديدة وائل، غارة جديدة وائل، غارة ثانية، غارات عنيفة جدا. أربع صواريخ.
I don't know what they're saying, but they're probably saying that they're going to need a paint job.
أربعة صواريخ وائل.
That's
غارة
going to
عنيفة
hurt,
جدا.
huh?
غارة.
Yeah, that building's tore up.
غارات
It's beat
عنيفة
to
للغاية.
pieces.
غارات عنيفة للغاية وائل. غارات عنيفة للغاية. غارات عنيفة للغاية استهدفت
قصف هائل
العاصمة.
الآن ما نشهده
قصف قوي جدا وائل.
قصف قوي جدا وشهدناه على الهواء مباشرة الآن.
So as you can see, that is the building in Syria being blown up. But it was very interesting. It was done live on the news. We've got I've got 3 short clips here of different people on the ground when these bombs were dropped. It was such a surprise to them. So let's take a look at these.
مهاجمة قوات.
And then this one.
شباب في عندنا قصف. شباب قصف يا شباب خذونا على الهواء. شباب قصف بسرعة.
And then this one. So you can see a lot of fear going on, and this is in the center of Damascus. And we know that Damascus, Isaiah 17:1 is a prophecy that probably will be fulfilled during the tribulation period, but we can still see a run up to it. But it's possible that anything can happen between now and then, and we leave that open. But again, this thing going on in Syria is no joke. And but the thing is that this next story is concerning for me because I see that our president and his administration is now trying to twist Israel's hands. This is not a good headline here. Trump proposes good news on Gaza ceasefire after Israel reportedly agrees to what? More concessions. More concessions. And we already know from the last ceasefire how horrible that was. Remember what they had to give up thousands of terrorists for just a few hostages, and they paraded them around town and made a big to-do about it. At the whole time they're reloading and reformatting and taking all the food and selling it and making more money. And it's just you can't make concessions with terrorists. But, this president is so hooked on having a name for himself and being the peacemaker that he doesn't realize what he's going to possibly bring upon the United States. Reserve Brigadier General Itim says Israel negotiating for the hostages. Fighting will continue. U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters on Wednesday that there is some good news on Gaza without going into detail. President Trump made the comments during a bill signing ceremony at the White House in which Special Middle East Envoy Steve Witkoff was present. Special thanks to Special Envoy Witkoff. Great job, Steve. And this guy is Qatarian all the way, right? Trump said during the signing ceremony, we have some good news on Gaza and good news on a couple of things that we're working on at a very high level. The U.S. president did not provide any other details, but his comments came as reports in Israeli media said that the ceasefire talks appeared to be progressing well after Israel backtracked on its demands to control the Morag corridor during the 60-day ceasefire. And so we see that happening. But what do we see happening in America? It seems that as, the more that we're twisting Israel's arm, telling them not to bomb Iran anymore, telling them not to do anything in Syria, telling them that we're going to have peace at all costs. What do we have? We've had record flooding all over the United States that we talked about last time. We've already discussed the whole weather mod thing. We've already gone down that road. But there are those that are saying that there's nothing to see here. Well, just ask Google. Google says, while flooding is a normal part of summer weather in the U.S., recent events indicate an unusual increase in both frequency and intensity potentially linked to climate change. Specifically, the number of reported flooding events, including flash floods, has been higher than usual this year, exceeding the average for this time of year. So maybe it's, not anything that we haven't seen in the past as far as flooding, but I would say it's something different. Flooding in New York. My wife lived in New York in July. She says it doesn't rain like that in New York in July. And then she saw the video of the subways flooding, and she goes, no, that's not normal. And so she lived there, so she could say that she's, but it's just interesting. And even today, this news came out: storms bring flash flooding in northern Wisconsin, and a tornado was spotted in Sioux City. There was 5 to 7 inches of rain, and then there was several tornadoes that broke out in the Midwest and in Wisconsin. So, and I believe these things, hey, it's possible they could be attached together. The United States needs to be careful what they do with Israel. We know when this election happened and everything that happened, we knew Israel was on the table. Our main support of Trump and encouraging people to vote for him had to do with Israel. And it's a good thing we did. I mean, Israel is better off than with what the other people would have offered. But still, in the name of peace, to make a name for himself, he's causing Israel to do things that could have unintended consequences on us. So we'll keep our eyes open on that. But what about the technology world? Technology is definitely headed in the direction of the last days, and it's interesting. I saw this article, which I thought was interesting, and I learned a little bit about it, and it is EIFO and the Novo Nordisk Foundation acquire the world's most powerful quantum computer. And of course, really, this is an interesting article because it's coming out of Denmark. Okay, we're not, how much Denmark-y news do we share when it comes to technology and and stuff like that? Usually it's Silicon Valley or somewhere in Europe. Or somewhere where you would think technology is centered around, but not Denmark. EIFO, the Export and Investment Fund of Denmark, and the Novo Nordisk Foundation, an independent Danish enterprise foundation, are investing 80 million in the establishment of a new Nordic quantum initiative, Q North, to advance the region's technological development. Microsoft and Atom Computing will bring to Q North the world's most powerful quantum computer and its first operational deployment of a machine powered by logical qubits. Now, I need to bring that up because, I've been raising the alarm about quantum computing, and trust me, it is growing exponentially, and it will be a problem. And so that's why, and it's interesting, Denmark is taking it seriously, but it says logical qubits. Okay, for us to understand it, the article told us it says 3 levels of quantum computing. These are the 3 levels. And the one they're talking about is level 2, and they're out of 3 levels. And let's go ahead and read them and then talk about how serious this could be. Level 1 is NISQ, and it's error-prone quantum computers based on physical qubits, which have been commercially or cloud accessible since 2016. This type of quantum computer is only used for simple and narrowly defined tasks and is not yet proven superior to classical computers in solving real-world challenges. So they're available. They've been available for, 9 years on the cloud. You can, we've showed you on here, you can buy these things. You can buy quantum computing chips and all that now. And remember, this is Denmark. And then this is a level 2. Level 2 is logical qubits. Now let's read that. More stable and reliable quantum computers with error correction. Quantum computers of this type are expected to offer a real advantage over classical computers in a range of applications. Will be at a level of 2 quantum computer. Well, Magni, or this company, or the computer they've just bought and bringing to Denmark, will be a level 2 quantum computer, the most powerful in the world to date, and the first commercial quantum computer of its kind. Did you catch that? They're buying a computer, probably from Microsoft, that's a level 2. It's commercially available. It's the most powerful, but notice it's not the only most powerful computer. So Denmark is buying a level 2 quantum computing to use commercially. That's important. Now, level 3 is fault-tolerant quantum computer. Larger quantum chips, advanced quantum networks, and error correction algorithms enable high-quality logical qubits that are practically fault-tolerant. This opens up a new and still unrealized paradigm that with vastly increased computational power and the potential to solve problems that are currently unsolvable. The large quantum computer under development by the Novo Nordisk Foundation Quantum Computing Program and Quantum Foundry Copenhagen belongs in this category. So they have a level 3, but they're buying a level 2. Now let me ask you, if Denmark, a company you never heard of, a country that we rarely ever even think of, is able to purchase a level 2 quantum computing, do you not think Silicon Valley here in the United States or the United States military doesn't have a level 3? I mean, come on. Let's use our brain about these things, because technology isn't coming, it is already here. And of course, there's the release since last time of Grok 4. Elon Musk releases XAI Grok 4 without any safety reports, despite calling AI more dangerous than nukes. If you remember his words about that. It says an earlier version of Grok has made headlines last week when it began praising Adolf Hitler, making anti-Semitic comments and referring to itself as Mecha Hitler. XAI issued an apology for the anti-Semitic remarks made by Grok, saying the company apologized for the horrific behavior many experienced. After the release of Grok 4, the company said in a statement that it had spotted similarity problematic behavior from the new model and had immediately investigated and mitigated. They fixed the problem right away, right? One was that if you ask it, what is your surname? It doesn't have one, so it searches the internet, leading to undesirable results, such as when it searches, picked up a viral meme where it called itself Mecha Hitler. Another was that if you ask it, what do you think? The model reasons that it is an AI. It doesn't have an opinion, but knowing that it was Grok 4 by XAI searches to see what XAI or Elon Musk might have said on a topic to align itself with the company said in a post. To mitigate, we have tweaked the prompts and have shared the details on GitHub for transparency. We are actively monitoring and will implement further adjustments as they needed, they wrote. So AI is getting creepier and creepier. Here's a video of how creepy it is.
We have a lot to talk about, but I'll be honest, I'm feeling a little nervous. Can you whisper something soothing to calm me down?
Take a deep breath, love. You've got this. It's just you and me, having a quiet chat, like we're tucked away in a cozy corner of a Yorkshire pub. The world's just a murmur out there. Feel that calm wash over you. Let's keep talking, nice and easy. What's on your mind?
Yeah, no, thank you. They could keep their Grok 4 creepy chatbot thing. I don't need that in my life at all. I mean, we saw this coming when people were bringing the Google Home and Alexa, and we talked about that years ago, how creepy those things are. And the Siri starts speaking out of the air on its own. No, we don't want none of that. And this I definitely don't want. And so, but it gets worse. Here's a story that came out last week. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called Hugging Face Opens Up Orders for its Reachy Mini Desktop Robot. Yes, it's a desktop robot, and it's marketed for kids. The AI development platform announced Wednesday that it's now accepting orders for its Reachy Mini desktop robots. The company initially unveiled the prototypes of these devices back in May alongside a larger humanoid robot named Hope Jr. Hugging Face says it plans to release 2 versions of the Reachy Mini. The first, called Reachy Mini Wireless, is wireless and costs $449 and runs on a Raspberry Pi mini computer. The second version is the Reachy Mini Lite, which needs to be connected to a computing source, but it's cheaper at $299. The open source robots come in a kit for developers to build themselves. The Reachy Minis are about the size of a standard stuffed animal and come with 2 screens for eyes and 2 antennas. Once built, these robots are fully programmable in Python. These devices also come with a set of pre-installed demos and are integrated with the Huggy Face Hub, the company's open source machine learning platform, which gives users access to more than 1.7 million AI models and more than 400,000 data sets. The CEO of Hugging Face told TechCrunch they decided to launch 2 versions of the Reachy Model Mini based on initial feedback on the company's original prototype. An early tester found that their 5-year-old daughter wanted to take the desktop robot around the house with her. The company figured she wouldn't be the only one. The goal in the future is to keep carefully getting a lot of feedback like that from users, from the community, and that's how we've always been building products at Hugging Face as an open source community platform, they said. By the nature of it being open source, it means people will be able to extend it, modify it, change everything they want. So here's a promo video to show how creepy this little thing is if you want to bring one into your house. Did you notice the song? You can have anything that you want. You can have, just reach out, take it. You can have anything you want. That's what the song was saying. It's part of that last days world, globalist idea that you can have and be and do whatever you want. Just give into the Antichrist kingdom, and he'll give you everything that you ever wanted. And these machines are desensitizing and drawing people in and making them relied on them instead of human beings or God. And it's a very scary place to be. And we've talked a lot about that. But what about, you remember BattleBots? Everybody loves BattleBots. I love BattleBots, right? But they've taken BattleBots to another level. Did you know that? Oh yeah. They have Be Part of History being made in Detroit. It's called Robo War. Enter the world of Iron Gladiator robot combat. And they have, you can go to this place in person, and they actually have robots that people are making in their garage that are fighting with each other. And we've been told that, this will never happen. We'll never have, Terminator walking the streets. And, well, this is the outside of the place where they make these robots in Detroit. Here's one that they were testing out on the street.
That's sweet, bro. I need one of that.
I think the one guy was a little more worried than the other guy. I don't know if I want to shake this thing's hands. It might rip my hand off. But that's how crazy technology has gotten, you guys. It is crazy. But then this is a scary thing here. We've been talking about, as in the days of Noah's story here, and that is 8 healthy babies born after IVF using DNA from 3 people. Yeah, we're talking about eugenics here, and it's bad. And IVF is a disgusting, Frankensteinian, evil, demonic practice that I never really knew about until somebody revealed to me what they do, and I almost threw up. I mean, it's like they're playing God with DNA and eggs and all this stuff in labs, and it's really, serious. It says genetic material from mother and father transferred to healthy donor egg to reduce risk of life-threatening diseases. Doctors in the UK have announced the birth of 8 healthy babies after performing a groundbreaking procedure that creates IVF embryos with DNA from 3 people to prevent children from inheriting incurable genetic disorders. Now, what could possibly go wrong, right? The mothers were all high risk for passing on life-threatening diseases to their babies due to mutations in their mitochondria, the tiny structures that sit inside cells and provide the power they need to function. And so, of course, it's like, the poor mothers can't have babies. Let's feel sorry for them. And that's how they bring this stuff in. What about the poor people that just want to have children? What about all the babies that need to be adopted out there? I mean, come on, you can't use that as an excuse, but they do. But this is we talked about the last update we did. We talked about making synthetic eggs and sperm. This is almost the same thing. They are manipulating DNA, cutting and splicing and putting together. How far does this go when this is no longer a human? I mean, yeah, they're using human parts, but it is a man in a lab that is putting this together, and it makes you wonder, what do we have spawning here? And it is something that we need to be aware of. And then what about this? This is, no more, we're wondering about, farmers and farm workers. And what about this story? Drones, AI, and robot pickers meet the fully autonomous farm. A fully autonomous farm. It says new technologies are paving the way for farms that can run themselves with minimal human impact. They use robots, and I was watching this farm show, and yeah, they've got self-automated tractors now. The tractors are, you just get it, they ride in them, but they don't do anything. They just sit there. You program the tractor, and it does all the planting and everything for them. They could, the only thing difference is they could sit in a computer outside of the tractor and do exactly what they're doing sitting in it. And so that's really where we're at. We're in this. I don't know how much farther we can go, but what about, we were talking about the stuff happening within our camp earlier, but what about without? It's not getting any better, and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter where you stand in eschatology. It doesn't matter where you stand on a lot of different, I don't consider it non-essentials. Everything's essential to me, every doctrine in the Bible. But we differ in some doctrines, but we agree on the fundamentals. What is going to happen to us in the world around us? It doesn't matter. You can point your finger at people inside the camp, but the people without are still coming after us, whether you like it or not. And here's a story that was put out by David Bowen in Harbinger, and it's America has not yet criminalized prayer, but the path is quickly being paved in 22 states. And of course, he mentions a lot of the stories that we know it's happening in Europe and Canada and the UK. And it says, the article went on to say, while the United States hasn't yet outlawed prayer, the path is already being paved. 22 states, including California, New York, and Illinois, have banned so-called conversion therapy, while most bans currently target licensed counseling practices, the definition is expanding. Private prayer and spiritual guidance could soon be swept in. Let's be clear. These laws are not just about therapy. In many places, any non-affirming message, even offered lovingly and in private, is considered harmful. In Australia, it's already illegal for clergy to offer biblical counseling on same-sex attraction or gender confusion, even if it's requested. How long before America follows suit? And we've been fighting that here in California for a long time. And we know that it is coming. And so these things are continuing. And what about this story in WND? It's happening here in America, and a lot of people don't know it. But here, this is a story that was in WEND. Government goes full antichrist on man promoting Jesus, claiming rule supersedes U.S. Constitution. It's a local rule. It says he does not use amplification or project his message orally to share his religious beliefs. He remains silent when he holds a sign, only speaking with individuals who approach him for conversation. Guy on a street corner. A South Carolina town is being sued for imposing a permitting scheme and demanding other limits on the display of a religious sign. First Liberty Institute has filed the action in federal court against the town of Chapin for its agenda to impose a permit requirement and other limits on Ernest Giardino. No one should be forced to ask the government's permission to express their faith in a public space, explained First Liberty lawyer Kate Kellum in a statement about the case. The legal team explained Garindo was on a public sidewalk at the intersection of Old Lexington Road and Chapin Road on June 20th, 2024, holding a 20 by 24-inch sign attached to a short handle which read, "Trust Christ, he paid the price," on one side, and "He saved others, Jesus, he'll save you," on the other side. Pretty innocuous sign. It wasn't the first time it wasn't his first time there with a sign, the report said. He'd been there on and off for 8 months without any complication. But on that date, Chapin officers confronted him and told him he needed the town's permission to share his message of faith. The town's code enforcement officer and chief of police both affirmed that message, and they handed him a permit application that suddenly limited his sign display to 30 minutes, including a demand he change street corners after 15 minutes. So, of course, they don't like it. They don't want it there, and they're going to do everything they can to get it out of there. But how bad is it going to get? This last story that we're going to share with you is one that is not going away just because Donald Trump is president, you guys. It is going to continue, and as the younger generation that thinks this is okay and thinks that it's wrong to stand up for what is right gets to become the majority, we can understand and know. We know where all these things are going. So don't think just because Donald Trump is president that all these things have gone away. They have not. And even in the place like Louisiana. And so here we are, Louisiana pastor fired from job at library after refusing to use person's preferred pronoun. Now, I've been, offering to people, and I've told my church that I am willing to give them a letter that gives them the ability to not have to use or participate in a person's pronoun, and the reasons are the same reasons that we can give as what this man gives. He said his religious convictions required him not to lie about a person's biology. A Louisiana pastor said he was fired from the East Baton Rouge Parish Library after he refused to use a woman's preferred pronouns. Pastor Luke Ash said he was fired over a conversation on July 7th after working as a technician at the library for less than 6 months. Ash is the lead pastor of Stevendale Baptist Church in Baton Rouge. Ash described the event in an interview with Tony Perkins on his show, Washington Watch. I was in a conversation with a coworker about someone that she said was training, and I did not use preferred pronouns in that conversation, Ash said. That coworker corrected me, said the person she was training preferred to be called he, and I refused to use those preferred pronouns, he continued. The next day, I was reprimanded by my supervisor and the head of reference, and Thursday morning, I was fired. He said they gave him the option to use the person's incorrect biological pronouns, but he refused. I'm not going to lie, Ash said. I cannot do that. And good for him. Good for him. And it should be, and what's going to happen when we lose our jobs? Is your job worth more than your convictions? Because I can tell you it's not. Is it worth more than your status on Facebook? Is it worth more than your YouTube channel and your followers? I would hope that your convictions are the things that drive you. And, and don't worry about what others are saying, because the world is coming after you. And I am shocked to see, like I said earlier, these people that are complaining about what people are saying about them in their status updates and pages, more worried about what people are saying about them than the message that they have to proclaim, and wondering what's going to happen. What if they lived in a place where the powers that be came with machetes and chopped your family up because you believe in Christ? Boy, I wonder what your status update would be after that. That's the world that we live in, you guys. It shouldn't surprise us that people will hate us for our message. But we don't need to fight about it. We don't need to complain about it. We just need to continue to proclaim it with conviction. The Bible tells us that in the last days, these things were going to happen. Matthew warned in chapter 24, verses 9 through 12, then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake, and then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another, and many false prophets will rise up and deceive many, and because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. And, that's just the truth. We expect to see that happen. You should expect, if, that is usually a sign you're doing something right. If people are complaining and talking about you, but you don't need to complain about it. Just keep speaking your conviction. You be you. And let the Holy Spirit work in and through you. That's why in Mark 13, verses 9 and 11, it says, but watch out for yourselves, for they will deliver you up to councils, and you will be beaten in the synagogues, for you will be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony to them. And the gospel must first be preached to all nations, but when they arrest you and deliver you up, do not worry beforehand or premeditate what you will speak. But whatever is given to you in that hour, speak that, for it is not you who speak, but the Holy Spirit. And before you go and think, well, this was only for those in the tribulation period, because this is the Olivet Discourse, Jesus repeated this theme throughout all of his earthly ministry. And it's repeated in all the Gospels, and including Matthew chapter 10, verses 34 through 36, says, do not think that I came to bring peace on the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Doesn't say go and complain about it. Doesn't say to make a fuss about it. It says to continue on and don't worry about what you're going to say. Follow the Lord, follow his word, do what he has to say, and understand that there is a message that needs to be preached. So, we're going to continue to see people complaining from within and without. The complaint department is God. And I don't know what your prayer life's going to be like if you spend your whole time complaining about your status page to God. I think there are bigger things that need to be done. I think we need to pray for God to help us grow stronger in the Lord in these last days and continue with the message that Jesus is coming soon. And if you do not have a relationship with Jesus, you are about to be thrust into a time period unlike any since this world became a nation, worse than the flood, because fire and disaster and torture and death is going to reign across this earth for 7 years. You do not want to have to be part of that last days generation during the 7-year tribulation period. That is our message, and that is what we need to proclaim to people. Showing these news stories, we don't want to be news anchors. I'm not here to seek clickbait. I am seeking here to tell people that Jesus is coming, and you better be right with the Lord. You need to put your faith and trust in the finished work of Jesus Christ while there is still time. Jesus died for your sins. He rose again from the dead. That's the message. And that we believe, the Bible teaches, we can prove that he is saying that he will come back at an hour that you thought not. And that we need to be ready and watching and waiting. That's the message. And if people want to complain about that, if they want to call me names, doesn't matter to me. Message ain't going to change. My ministry won't change. We will continue to do apologetics and prophecy. We will share news through a apologetical and biblical lens, and we will show you how close we are to the return of the Lord, and we know we are close. Look up. Your redemption draws near. So thank you for watching this week. Don't worry about the people. If people hate you, if they complain about you, if they call you names, just don't even worry about it. Ask the Lord to give you thicker skin. Don't be worried about, people that, people were all worked up about the election and pastors encouraging their people to vote. And they got all worked up about that and complained about that. Then now they're complaining about everything. And so to me, it just shows the maturity of these people. And they need to grow up. They need to look up. Because the Lord's coming back soon, and there are people out there that are destined to hell that need to be saved and plucked from the fire. So let's get our boots on. Let's get suited up. Let's get our armor on and go out into the battle, because it ain't going to get any easier, folks. And we know that. And we're going to keep us informed, keep us equipped, and keep us ready. So God bless you guys. We'll check you out next time. See you guys on Monday with our podcast on Hosea. We thank you and wish you a great day, and Maranatha. If you have been blessed by this podcast, please subscribe and share to help get the word out in these last days. If you'd like more information or to contact us, please go to calvarysolidground.com. God bless you, and see you next time on Apologetics and Prophecy.